At 80 years old, Neil Young has finally opened up about a truth he kept quiet for most of his career: the handful of Beatles songs he genuinely disliked, even though he has always admired the band that helped shape an entire generation of music. For decades, Neil Young was known as one of the most outspoken, brutally honest figures in rock. Yet, when it came to the Beatles, he always tread carefully out of respect. He has called them geniuses, innovators, and the standard by which every rock musician measures themselves. But in a rare, reflective mood, Neil admitted that a few of their songs simply never sat right with him, and he didn't want to pretend otherwise. He began by praising the Beatles for their extraordinary range, saying they could jump from psychedelic experiments to tender ballads to raw rock and roll without ever losing their identity. But even with all that brilliance, there were certain tracks he personally couldn't connect to. The first was Obladi Oblada, a song Neil described as too bouncy, too cheerful, and too far from the emotional weight he values in music. He said he understands why listeners find it catchy, but for him, the song felt like a playful distraction rather than something meaningful, adding that its almost campfire-style simplicity never matched the Beatles' usual depth. The second track he mentioned was Yellow Submarine, a worldwide anthem loved by millions, but not by Neil Young. He confessed that while the song was fun and perfect for children, it didn't represent the type of art he connected with. In his words, the Beatles were at their most powerful when they were pushing boundaries, not when they ventured into cartoon-like territory. The third song on his list was Maxwell's Silver Hammer, a track he called musically sweet, but emotionally confusing. Neil admitted that he has always disliked the idea of pairing dark, even violent themes with overly cheerful melodies, calling it an approach that felt more theatrical than sincere. From a songwriting perspective, he found it clever, but not authentic. The fourth track he singled out was Piggies, George Harrison's satirical piece from the White Album. Neil understood and respected the message behind it, but he felt the delivery was too stylized and lacked the emotional grit he believes great songs need. He said the Beatles were capable of profound social commentary, but this particular track sounded more like a musical sketch than a meaningful statement. Finally, the fifth Beatles song he openly admitted to disliking was Honey Pie, Paul McCartney's tribute to old-fashioned British music hall tunes. Neil Maher had a taste for nostalgic theatrical styles, and he felt the song drifted too far from the earthy, grounded sound he always gravitated toward. He emphasized that he deeply admired McCartney's versatility, but this track felt like it belonged in a different era altogether, not on a Beatles record. After revealing these opinions, Neil was careful to explain that disliking a handful of songs doesn't diminish his admiration for the Beatles. In fact, he argued that true respect means being honest. He believes that even the greatest artists create pieces that won't resonate with everyone, and that's part of what makes music so human. Neil even laughed about how many people dislike some of his own songs, saying that art isn't meant to please everyone, it's meant to be genuine. Looking back on his long career, he said the Beatles shaped him more than almost any other band, inspiring him to experiment, take risks, and follow his instincts no matter what critics thought. Hearing Neil Young speak so openly at this stage of his life offers a rare glimpse into the honesty of a man who has never followed trends or softened his opinions to fit in. And by finally revealing the Beatles songs he personally couldn't stand, he reminded fans that even legends are still human. They love, admire, judge, and feel exactly the way we do.
Please don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon.